everyone, and welcome. So, today we're going to talk about something we've all seen, maybe even experienced, the rear end collision. And you might think, okay, I get it, someone hits someone from behind, but trust me, there is so much more going on beneath the surface than just a cracked bumper. Let's get right into it. You know this phrase, right? We've all said it, we've all heard it. It's what we say to make these things sound, well, harmless, like it's no big deal. The thing is, that's a really dangerous way to think about it. And today, we're going to show you exactly why. Because, when you stop looking at the car and start looking at the actual science, the physics of the impact, the medical data, the whole story just completely flips on its head. And this is where it gets really, really important. So, first things first, let's just completely demolish this myth that a low-speed crash is a minor crash. The reality, the amount of damage to your car has almost nothing to do with the potential damage to your body. The real danger is something called whiplash. Yeah, it's a term we hear a lot, but the physics behind it are pretty intense. Even in a crash at just, say, 10 or 15 miles per hour, all that energy from the crash has to go somewhere, and it goes right into you. Your car stops, but your head doesn't. It snaps forward and back, kind of like a whip, and that puts a massive strain on everything in your neck. And here's the sneakiest part of it all. Right after the accident, you might feel totally fine. Adrenaline is coursing through your system, masking everything. But then you wake up the next morning or even 2 days later and bam, you're hit with serious pain and stiffness. That delay is a classic sign of this type of injury. Okay, so we've established that even a tiny tap can cause big problems. So why on earth do these accidents happen so often? Let's dig into just how big this problem is and what's actually causing it. Take a look at this number, 29%. Just let that sink in for a second. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, the NHTSA, that's how many of all reported crashes are rear-end collisions. And this chart just drives that point home. We're talking about almost a third of every single crash out there. It is, by a long shot, the most common type of accident. And while they might not be as fatal as, say, a head-on collision, that sheer volume means they're responsible for millions of injuries every single year. So who's the main villain in this story? Well, the data is pretty clear. The number one cause, and it's not even a close race, is simply driver inattention. That's the human factor right there. After that, you've got tailgating, following way too close. You throw in some sudden stops, maybe a little bad weather, and boom, you've got the perfect recipe for a collision. But here's the good news, and it's really good news. We see how big the problem is, but the most important thing to know is that these crashes are almost always preventable. Seriously, you have way more control than you think. So let's open up the defensive driving playbook. This right here is probably the most powerful tool you have, the 3-second rule. It's so simple, and it works. Just pick a landmark up ahead, like a bridge or a sign. As soon as the car in front of you passes it, start counting. 1001, 1002, 1003. If you pass that same spot before you finish counting, you need to back off. And look, that's for good weather. If it's raining, you better make that 4 or 5 seconds. This is all about getting into the right mindset. You gotta stop staring at the bumper right in front of you and start scanning way down the road. Try to anticipate what traffic is going to do. Be predictable. Use your signals early, brake smoothly. Basically, give everyone around you a chance to know what you're doing. And of course, let's not forget the car itself. This is your first line of defense, making sure your brakes are good, your tires have tread, and this is a big one, that all your brake lights actually work. That's not just a suggestion, it's a huge piece of the safety puzzle. But these days, it's not just about our driving habits. A lot of modern cars have a secret weapon, technology designed specifically to prevent these exact kinds of accidents. It's called ADAS, which stands for Advanced Driver Assistance Systems. The best way to think about it, it's like having a digital co-pilot, a second set of eyes that is always on, never gets distracted, and is constantly watching the road for you. And a lot of these systems have a great 1-2 punch. The first part is the forward collision warning. This is your alert system. It's the flashing light or the loud beep that basically yells, hey, wake up, when it thinks you're about to hit the car in front of you. Now, if you don't listen to that warning, that's when the second punch lands, automatic emergency braking. If you don't react, the car literally hits the brakes for you. Its goal is to either avoid the crash completely or at the very least make the impact a whole lot less severe. Okay, so let's shift gears and talk about the messy part, the aftermath.
Once the crash happens, the number one question on everyone's mind is whose fault was it? And while you might think the answer is obvious, legally it can get a little tricky.
So, the general rule of thumb is usually correct. The law almost always assumes that the driver in the back is the one at fault. Why? Because every single driver has a basic duty to keep a safe distance and stay in control of their vehicle. If you hit someone from behind, it kind of implies you weren't doing that.
But, and this is a really big but, there are definitely exceptions. What if the driver in front had broken brake lights? Or what if they slammed on their brakes for absolutely no reason to brake check you? Or if someone cuts you off and then immediately stops? In those situations, the driver in front could absolutely be found partially or even 100% at fault. It's not always so clear-cut. Okay, so let's wrap this all up. What are the big takeaways? Number one, and this is the most important, you are in control. You can prevent this. Keep that 3-second buffer at a minimum. Stay focused, put the phone down. If your car has that fancy ADAS tech, learn what it does. And finally, knowing the rules about who's at fault just reminds us that driving safely is everyone's responsibility.
And all of this leaves us with a really interesting question for the future, right? We know driver inattention is the problem, and we know technology is trying to be the solution. So as our cars get smarter and smarter at saving us from our own mistakes, what does that mean for our responsibility as drivers? How does our role change? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks so much for joining me.
Please like, subscribe, and get notified.